see what we get. So a week post Bad Apples, my first flight back, or first flight after I got back. I'm gonna try. It's a waste of time, I think, but there was a kid who shot a rocket off. Yeah, it's gonna be probably right in the middle of all those houses. Shot a rocket off. I think it's a little too windy for that, but it got blown way over there. And I have a feeling it's somewhere right in the middle of all those houses. But that's alright. Distracted. It's a week after Bad Apples, and I kind of needed to do a rebuild before Bad Apples. I went there with like 100 point something hours on the motor. What do I have now? 107. So yeah, 107 hours. We did, the full 100-hour service plus some new piston rings, exhaust bushing. I technically rebuilt my carb not that long ago, so I didn't do that. But new air filter, all the standard stuff. New air box bushing thing. A few other things. Base gasket, O-ring. All that good stuff. So I'm not gonna have any like super long sustained climbs because I'm kind of in a quasi break-in period, if you will. But yeah, so in light of Bad Apples, it's technically 2 years. It's the 2-year anniversary since my anniversary. Sorry, I had to show off for some kids a little bit, Not high enough to do like full-on barrel rolls, but we can do a little wing over. It's a 2-year anniversary since my Viper XC collapse. And I just kind of wanted to, talk about it, let you guys know where I am on it as of today, and kind of touch on some things that I feel like a lot of people just overlook, rather that's on purpose or rather it's just you don't think about it until you think about it kind of thing, but anyway, so I'm sure all of you know, if you're watching this channel, you've probably seen my Viper XC crash. If you haven't, for some reason, you're more than capable of finding that video on my channel. It's pretty easy. But anyway, so I was flying in, I wouldn't say like super gnarly conditions, but it wasn't like, butter smooth, never feel a single bump, but it wasn't super bad in my opinion. Now there was some stuff out on the horizon, so that, we can take that into account. But, a lot of people obviously want to speculate about what happened. Now, we don't know what happened, but we can, we can look at some things and say, okay, well, did I pull on the right brake a little bit as I was coming onto speed bar when I was on full speed bar? There's a chance. I'm not going to say it's a 0% chance. It's not. I don't think it's a 100% chance. I don't recall doing it, but I won't deny that it's possible. Some other people criticize my, not pushing out my speed bar perfectly straight. Honestly, like, I'll get to my thoughts on that a little more, but I really don't think that has anything to do with it. And if it does, I have a major problem with that being a problem, if you know what I mean. And then, of course, there's all the criticism of my phone in my hand, which obviously had no effect on the collapse. Sure, it may have had an effect on getting to my toggles and recovering from the collapse, but it had no effect on the collapse, obviously. So it's kind of a moot point. But here's the thing. Here's my perspective on the entire thing, and you can agree or disagree. That is what it is. But so if you're up there, you're flying full trims, full speed bar, you really don't know how close you are to a potential collapse. Obviously, like, we don't have a gauge in our heads-up display. It's like, oh, you're 85% of the way towards a potential collapse. Like, there's no way of knowing. So, I mean, there's a chance that at any given time you were out there punching your speed bar and you were 99% of the way. If one little teeny tiny thing would have gone wrong, a tiny little gust, you leaned in your seat a little bit, you farted, who knows? I mean, like, anything happens, that collapse is happening. That 1% is all it was going to take to tick you over the edge. We obviously can't know that, but here's the thing, is how close do you feel comfortable with your wing being to that 100%? Now you're taking a collapse point. And the point I'm trying to get at here is, if I'm up there pushing full speed bar and my wing is at 98% of the way towards a collapse, and all it takes is a pound or two of pressure on the wingtip and a gentle turn like that to collapse the wing, I feel like that wing is too close for comfort for me to the collapse point. If that's all it takes to make that wing so upset that it just wads up and sends you 700 feet plummeting, then that's not the way that I want. That's not the wing I want to fly if I'm that close to the edge. I don't want to be on the ragged edge all the time. Now here's the other thing, though, that you got to remember, is it's not an if-then of, well, if you've got a super fast advanced wing, well, then you're automatically going to be right on the edge of a collapse all the time. That's not necessarily true. It's possible that if this theoretical gauge existed and you were able to tell exactly how close you were to a collapse at any given time, that you could be on two wings that were seemingly almost identical in performance, speed, one might be a little more agile than the other, but whatever. And that one wing is going to be based on the profile or the amount of reflex it's got or the line length or whatever. You're loaded the same on both wings. There's a chance that one of those wings might be 90% when nothing is going wrong, and one of those wings is 50% when nothing is going wrong. Because I know for a fact, and I can tell you that there are a lot of wings out there that have no restrictions on using brakes. Full trims out, use them, don't care. Full speed bar, use them, don't care. There are a lot of wings that have, no restrictions on what you're allowed to do with your brakes. There's a lot of wings that say you can use them when you have your full trims out, but not with your full speed bar out. All of my wings fall into one of those two categories. You can do it whenever you want, or you can do it with just all your trims out, but don't do it when your trims out and full speed bar. You can do it with just speed bar, you can do it with just trims, but not both. Okay, so the point I'm trying to make is, like, how, if all it takes is a 5 or a 10% differential in how evenly you're pressing out your speed bar, that's all it takes to collapse your wing. Are you okay with that? Are you cool with, I'm so close to the ragged edge that any little micro mistake that I make at any point is going to result in, here we go, shit just wadded up and I'm plummeting towards the earth? I don't want to be that close, if I'm honest. Like, I don't want to be that close at all. But here's the thing, like, obviously I can't tell where the Viper XC is on any given day. I can't tell if I went up and did the same thing 100 times, how many times it would take to collapse. I can't tell how many times it would have recovered the way it did from the collapse. A lot of people are like, oh, that wing saved your life. I mean, if reinflating and, you know, pulling out of it 50 feet off the ground is saving my life, I mean, I'm glad it reinflated, don't get me wrong. I don't know. I mean, I don't know. I've flown other wings in much more gnarly conditions on speed bar. Had no problems. But it kind of brings me to the point where, like, one, there's this push to make wings as fast as possible, which might not be the brightest idea. It might not. And I kind of fell victim to that, like, see how fast it can go sort of thing, you know? And, like, I mean, look, I'm flying a Gin Carb. It's not like I'm flying a Spider. Like, you know, I'm flying a very advanced wing. But I've been on speed bar on this wing. I've been on this wing in the most gnarly conditions I've ever been in my life, where this wing was 45 degrees behind me, 45 degrees ahead of me, yawing 45 degrees back and forth, and just, I mean, riding it like a bull. And it stayed above my head, inflated. It might have taken like a flutter of a wingtip. That was the worst I saw. So that's the question, is like, you know, there's kind of two mentalities when you're building a wing. There's the ozone mentality, where it's, I want to recover from a collapse as quickly and as safely as possible. And then there's the dudek mentality of, I never want to take that damn thing in the first place. I kind of like that dudek mentality, because here's the thing. I've watched a lot of SIV courses. I've watched a lot of videos of paraglider pilots taking collapses and whatever. And, you know, you pull a 50% collapse and you just weight shift and pull a little counter brake, and that's not what happens when you're on full speed bar. That's not what happens when you're flying, you know, trims out what, like, that's not the kind of collapse you're going to take. It is absolutely, like, just savage. I mean, at this point, I've taken 3 speed bar collapses. 2 of which you've seen, 1 you didn't. I didn't get it on video. It is what it is. But on the Gin Carb 2, for example, I don't think anyone can say that I did anything wrong in that particular circumstance. I was flying in super smooth conditions. I mean, you could say that I'm wrong to have my brake toggle stowed on the magnets while I'm flying on speed bar, but if that's not proof that I didn't touch a brake toggle, I don't know what is, aside from a 360 cam, which I don't have. But my speed bar application was very even. Like, and you know, I talked to people about that collapse and was basically told, like, we know that wing is kind of close to the edge. And so at that point, I make a choice that, one, I'm never going to touch the speed bar on that wing again. But I kind of, unless it's like a super, you know, like my Nucleon, I'm very comfortable hitting speed bar. But the thing is, like, I just don't need it. If I was a paraglider, I would need speed bar sometimes. If I was, you know, out there condo soaring or you know, ridge soaring, dune soaring, something like that, you're going to need some speed bar sometimes. I get it. But I'm doing this. Like, I'm floating around on my paramotor in relatively nice conditions, sometimes a little gnarlier than others, as we all flew in at Bad Apples. But, like, you know, I don't need speed bar. So I've decided that I'm not going to use it anymore. But to kind of come full circle back to my point, like, I feel like if all it takes is a tiny bit of brake pressure to upset a wing to where it takes a gnarly collapse, then have we made a mistake and taken it just a little bit too far with the pursuit of more speed, or whatever. I mean, it's possible that just being more efficient is bringing it closer to more potential of collapse. Like, I'm not a wing designer, I'm not an aeronautical engineer. I don't know. I don't know what it is that you can do to make a wing safer while still making it perform like at a high level. But one thing's for sure is when I take a gnarly collapse on a wing, boy, that kills confidence in that sucker, doesn't it? Like, I love my gin carve, and if my gin carve ever is deemed unflyable at some point, I may potentially buy a gin carve too. But one thing I can promise you I'll never do is touch the speed bar on it. I may not touch the speed bar on any motor flown wing at any point in the future, for all I know, but I don't know. I don't know if that Viper XC and that gin carve on speed bar are just too close to the edge. Are you just one small mistake away from catastrophe at any given time? Because right here at this, I've hit speed bar at this altitude on many wings. We've all seen videos of, all the guys doing slalom racing, and they're hitting speed bar 10 feet off the water or off the ground in the past. Mitch Cheap, flying speed bar, gnarly, super low, and crazy. And like one of my buddies has an 18 warp, and he hits speed bar all the time. I was on an 18 warp on full speed bar at 12 o'clock in the middle of the day, and it was fine. Like, I was bumping around a little bit, didn't care. But that's the thing, like, I don't know how close I was to catastrophe, but I feel like the more time that you spend on speed bar and you don't have a catastrophe, potentially the more that tells you that you're further away from that line. And I've had one experience with a Viper XC, and I crossed that line for whatever reason. Like, it's just, it was a gnarly experience. And I mean, I definitely, like, it put some things into perspective for me. I mean, I'm still like, I still fly the way I want to, but I don't use speed bar anymore, like, flat out. I literally took the speed bar off of my motor. It's not on here anymore. But I mean, I don't know. It's just one of those things that, like, how close are you willing to get to that edge? And what's the benefit of what you're doing to get there? My benefit was I'm going a little faster. It's not enough benefit for me. And it's one of those, like, do the risks outweigh the benefits? And for me, it doesn't. Like, I got a kid, I got a wife, I got another kid on the way. I've got an entire household of people that are relying on me. So it's like, being a little smarter with the way I fly, staying a little further away from that ragged edge. I think that's a good idea for me personally, as I don't really have any intention of, like, trying to push the limits of paramotoring. Like, I'm just enjoying it for what it is, So, I don't know. I mean, look, you can take from that video whatever you want. A lot of people are mad about it being clickbait. I mean, or some people say clickbait, some people just don't like the title. Look, the title and the thumbnail and all that got people to click on it. Did anything I say, can it 100% be proven wrong? No. I mean, is it slightly controversial? Yeah, potentially, but I don't think it really falls into the category of like full-on clickbait. It's not like I showed some, you know, thonged bikini girl and then she never appeared in the video. You know, like, but you can be mad at the video if you want. You can heed my advice if you want. You can do whatever it is that makes you happy, honestly, but just realize that, you know, there's a potential that doing some of the things that you're doing, you're closer to the ragged edge than you thought you were. And I mean, I don't know any of the details. I've heard a lot of rumors, but I don't want to speculate on rumors. But obviously, like, we had a guy pass away at Bad Apples this year, and that's a terrible tragedy. And I don't think that he was doing anything crazy. You know, like, he wasn't flying crazy. But I mean, you never know what flight is going to be your last. You never know what it is that could potentially be your undoing. So, you know, you got to take the risks that you're comfortable with. You've got to fly the way that you're comfortable flying. And, you know, if that's smashing speed bar on a Viper XC all day, then by all means. I mean, there's a lot of people that say, oh, I've been on speed bar hundreds of times and never taken a collapse. I mean, you haven't until you have. You haven't until you have. So, with that said, I'm going to climb up a little bit more. I don't want to, like, stay at full throttle for a super long period of time, being that, this motor is freshly rebuilt, but I'd like to throw a couple of quick barrel rolls before I head down. So, alrighty. Man, my legs are going numb doing those. That is a good time. So it definitely feels like I still have wind from the same direction. So I'm gonna circle. Yeah, I can see it. I can see it all the way from over here. I think I'm too high, but we'll see. Yeah. Definitely too high. I mean, I think I can make the field, but I don't want to walk that far. So alrighty. Oh. Oh yeah. That's a good time. So, all I can say is thanks for watching, y'all. I might upload this in one unedited piece just for the sake of it, but it'll be easier to get a video out that way. Hope y'all enjoyed hanging out with me. Catch you next time.